Good morning. I'm Laura Young, and instead of my usual program, Woman to Woman Secret Shared, today, again, as I did last week, I am focusing on seeing if I can be of any help in terms of what you're feeling out there, in terms of anxiety and fear and restricted breath. So much is going on in our country that's so totally out of our control. Things we took for granted are no longer available to us. There's invisible traps here and there and everywhere. Endless worrisome events. And that feeling of fear and anxiety becomes contagious. So right now, I want to talk to you about how to intercept that contagious feeling of anxiety and fear. Some of my clients told me it was almost like panic, even though they hadn't experienced panic before. Their anxiety and fear had gotten to such a heightened state. Some others talked about using this time as a bit of a respite to start looking at the things they had hoped to do and hadn't gotten around to. Things like meditation, breath work, prayer, mindfulness, walking meditation, walking yoga. And some of them felt like it was too late. They needed to have had that in place to handle their fear and anxiety. And I agree it would be easier, as I used in the analogy before, if there's a bicycle outside the door and you haven't practiced and you need it in an emergency, it's not much good to you. So what I'm saying is it's not too late right now to stop all the I wish I had and start. First of all, we have to get out of fear. Fear causes our immune system to plummet. Fear is restrictive. Fear takes away our personal power, and we don't have the clarity to make plans. Yes, we are restricted right now. Yes, we've had change thrust upon us. Usually when change comes slowly, we put things off till the right day, but change such as is happening right now, it's on us, and we have to find our way out of fear and anxiety into our bedrock of courage. You may not feel really courageous right now, but believe me, the bedrock is there. We've all had moments when we've felt really courageous. Think of it. Courage takes attention, decision, and determination, and follow through. I don't care how big or small the situation may have been in your life, you have exercised courage. It may have been when you were a little kid. It may have been with your spouse. It may have been with your boss. I don't know, but you have exercised courage. But before we get into courage and how to find more of it for ourselves right now, let's stop a minute. Stop a minute and notice. Just notice. You don't have to do anything. Notice where your breath is. Breathe in and out. Notice where it is. Sometimes when we're anxious and upset, it's way up in our throats. And yours may be there, or it may be you're one of the fortunate ones and you can bring your breath all the way into your belly. But just for right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, give yourself a number in terms of if say 10 is really, really uptight and constricted, and 1 is letting go and releasing and feeling some space around your heart and in your chest. Look at where you are. Where are you on the spectrum? I know there have been times in the past week, I too am one that resists change. Sometimes I go into it kicking and screaming, but what I'm having to do is change the way I do my practice, which means more computer time, which is my least adept skill. So I understand change is scary for all of us. But first notice where your breath is. You have to bring your breath down out of your chest to start even touching a feeling of courage. Breathe in and out. If you're having trouble getting your breath down, there is a meditative breath called the breath. Practice that a few goes. Go. You know, you come in Friday night and you flop on the couch after a difficult week and you go, do that without stressing, without judging, without thinking you should have a deeper breath or you should be in control of your breath. Get the judgment out and just notice your breath, releasing all the worries and cares. Thanking your breath, being grateful for the breath you have, knowing right now, with this particular virus going around, breath is critical. Breathing in and out, slowing down the anxiety, knowing that you can, knowing that you're willing. And by the way, for those of you who wait till we're finished, I have a little gift for you. Breathing in and out. Allow all the thoughts that are going around in the vapors. Release them. Release them. If you have trouble releasing them, just by breath, there is another step you can take to intervene in the whirly-bird, round and round in the vapors, fears and anxieties that you may have. Get a pen and pencil, more powerful than the computer, and maybe spend a few minutes writing down what you fear. Worst case scenario, do not dot your I's, do not cross your T's, just write. It's something about that gives you, the writer, a little personal power, a little more personal power than you thought you could have. And it's almost like the unconscious releases the burden and says, she's going to get around to it. She's going to address what she fears. Breathing in and out. Knowing that you can. Knowing that you're able. And if you are writing, just write without judgment. Breathing in and out. It's never too late to get mindful. All of us have to use this crisis, this fear, this anxiety, for the greater good. Take some time and look at your life. Before all this happened and you were going along, in your own merry way, maybe with some frenetic energy and thinking you would get to something soon back then that you needed to do. What day was it perfect to start? Right now, you could review your life and see what's in there that you need to change. It doesn't even have to be a major change. One step is all it takes. Because one step is never, ever just one step. I mean, get an idea of, someone decides to lose weight. And then the next step is they sign up for a gym. And the next step is they buy gym clothes. And the next step is they start eating healthier. So you see, one step is never just one step. Just like the pebble rippling on the lake, it reverberates out further and further into your life. Breathe in and out. You have to get some of this feeling of constriction out of your chest before you're able to really entertain the idea of courage to make some changes, to change some things that you've been thinking about. And maybe you have a little more quiet time right now, just for a little while. And you can start. You can start right now. Courage does not mean we're without fear. Courage can happen when we make steps or take action and we're really experiencing jelly in our knees. That's still courage. We're overriding that place of fear. Fear is a low energy, helpless kind of energy and fear. Fear kind of pulls us down into a place of not feeling any personal power. We have to tackle it and not let it become overwhelming. Our breath is a sure indication of how much anxiety and fear we're carrying in our body. So that is why I'm focusing on the breath. Notice now where it is. And moving out of this place of feeling helpless, we move into taking action. Some spiritual masters said, inside of each of us is a lioness energy. So why do we get caught up in going around in life feeling helpless as bleating little lambs? So my hope for you is to find the lioness. Sometimes we wish we had done something different sooner, but believe me, start now. What I've heard on the news and a couple of people talking about their situation, these are people who had contracted the coronavirus. It was a woman who said she was a health worker, and she said she had come down with the coronavirus, but her symptoms were mild, so she self-quarantined, and she recovered. Her boyfriend self-quarantined with her, and she said that he took a turn where he needed hospitalization before he recovered. But what she was admonishing us to be careful about is if we get the virus, 80% of people will recover without hospitalization. And she encouraged us to not go into fear and to work with our ability to relax and to be calm, so we would not clog up the health system unnecessarily. Of course, when something happens, it's very easy to get frightened and afraid the worst will happen. But it doesn't happen in 80% of the people. So part of it is you having a preparation of how to manage your breath, how to still your fears before anything happens. Let's not catastrophize. Let's not expect the worst will happen. So as I move through today, let me see. The courage is a choice. It's a decision to face things with new energy, with new determination, with new curiosity. And women are known to have a willingness, a curiosity, an interest in activating their strength in new directions, facing fears, and not allowing anxiety to cripple our endeavors. Not let this be something that takes us down in terms of when it's over, we feel that we have lost personal power because we gave in to fear and did not practice some things we could do to help us feel more courageous throughout it. The energy of courage lifts us up into a higher level of consciousness. It also lifts our immune system up into a higher level of strength. So it's worth it to do, even though this is hard. I mean, someone said to me, came in the other day and said, you might as well tell me to fly a trapeze as to ask me to be, relaxed right now. And that is true. If you're in a heightened state, it's almost like you have to do something to break the spell, like a large muscular activity, run, walk, hammer, yell, something to start, to break the spell, to write would be good, to break the spell so you can get back into your body, into your breath. And by all means, as you go through the week, thank your hands and ask them to be conscious, to be mindful, and you to be mindful of all that they do for you. And that right now you're a team, keeping yourself and your hands together and out of harm's way. But be sure to be conscious of our hands. So often we do things automatically and we're not aware of all the ways we use our hands that right now can get us into mischief. So with this, I am going to ask you, if you're having some trouble relaxing, if you're having some trouble just stopping, go to LauraBYoung.com/relax. And there's a 9-minute relaxation audio there. Realizing right now, sometimes people have trouble doing 9. They have trouble doing 3. Just start where you can. Do 2, add 1, do 3, add 2. Be kind to yourself, to your loved ones, to your neighbors. I'm going to finish with a poem, Keeping Quiet, by Pablo Neruda. Now we will count to 12, and we will all keep still for once on the face of the earth. Let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for a second and not move our arms so much. It would be an exotic moment, without rush, without engines. We'd all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would not look at his hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victories with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it's all about. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Now I will count up to 12, and you keep quiet, and I will go. God bless you in the coming week. Remember your breath, and if you have time, have trouble getting to it, remember the meditative breath to pull it down. Or if that's not working for you, write it out, and then go back to breath. Blessings. See you next week.